The morning sky over Seoul changed forever when the massive alien ships appeared above Earth. They came without warning, their dark metal hulls blocking out the sun as they positioned themselves over every major city on the planet. People stopped in the streets, pointing up at the impossible sight. Cars crashed as drivers forgot to watch the road. Children cried in their mother's arms. Park Dae-ho stood at the window of the United Nations building in New York, watching the largest ship hover directly overhead. As Secretary General of Earth's newly formed United Defense Council, he had been preparing for this moment ever since the first radio signals from space had been detected 3 months ago. But nothing could have prepared him for the reality of seeing alien technology with his own eyes. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked like giant flowers made of black metal, with petals that seemed to shift and move in the light. Each one was easily 10 times larger than the biggest aircraft carrier ever built by humans. Energy crackled along their surfaces in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Dr. Kim Hae-jin rushed into the room, her tablet showing readings that made no sense. As Earth's chief scientist studying alien life, she had been working day and night to understand the signals coming from space. Her dark hair was messy from sleepless nights, and her lab coat was stained with coffee. "The energy readings are off the charts," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Their power output is more than our entire global electrical grid. And that's just what we can measure from the outside." Captain Lee Woo-bin entered behind her, his military uniform crisp despite the chaos of the morning. As commander of Earth's Defense Force, he had been preparing for the worst-case scenario. His face was calm, but Park Dae-ho could see the tension in his shoulders. "All military forces are on high alert," Lee reported. "But sir, if these aliens wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. The fact that they're just hovering suggests they want to talk." A bright light filled the room, and suddenly 3 figures materialized in the center of the conference room. The humans jumped back, hands reaching for weapons that would be useless against beings who could appear from thin air. The aliens were tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and blue. Their faces were humanoid, but stretched, with large eyes that held an ancient intelligence. They wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid metal, flowing and changing color as they moved. The center alien stepped forward and spoke in perfect English, though his mouth barely moved. "I am Admiral Vexmal of the Valkyrian Fleet, representing the Galactic Coalition. We have come to speak with your leaders about a matter of great importance." Park Dae-ho stepped forward, forcing himself to appear calm. "I am Park Dae-ho, Secretary General of Earth's United Defense Council. We welcome you to our planet, though we would have preferred advance notice of your arrival." Admiral Vexmal's large eyes seemed to study Park Dae-ho for a long moment. "Your customs are noted, but irrelevant. We have not come for diplomacy, but to deliver an ultimatum. Your species must join the coalition war effort immediately." "Doctor." Kim moved closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "War effort? Against whom?" The alien's expression darkened. "Against the Kethter Empire, a plague upon the galaxy. They're savage biomechanical creatures that consume entire worlds, leaving nothing but death in their wake. For 300 years they have spread across the galaxy like a disease." Admiral Vexmal waved his hand, and a holographic display appeared in the air above them. It showed star maps with huge sections marked in red. The red areas show worlds that have been completely destroyed by the Kethter. Billions of lives lost, entire civilizations wiped out. The images were horrifying. Planets stripped bare, their surfaces covered in strange mechanical growths. Ships that looked more like living creatures than machines, covered in spikes and organic-looking armor. "Every civilized species in the galaxy has joined the coalition," Admiral Vexmal continued. "The Zephyrians contribute their fastest ships. The Molten Worlds provide their strongest warriors. The Crystal Singers offer their most powerful weapons. All species must contribute according to their abilities." Captain Lee stepped forward. "And what exactly are you asking of Earth? Your planet has a population of 8 billion. We require 2 billion of your strongest adults for military service. Your industrial capacity will be converted to produce weapons and ships for the war effort. Your resources will be shared among the coalition forces. The room fell silent. Park Dae-ho felt his heart racing. 2 billion people. A quarter of humanity's entire population. That's impossible, Dr. Kim said. Our people have families, jobs, lives. You can't just take them away. Admiral Vexmel's expression remained cold. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This is not a negotiation. This is how war works. Every species makes sacrifices. Park Dae-ho looked at the holographic display, studying the red zones where the Kefter had supposedly destroyed entire worlds. Something felt wrong about the presentation, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. What happens if we refuse? He asked. The question seemed to surprise the alien. Admiral Vexmel's large eyes blinked slowly. Refuse? No species has ever refused to join the coalition. You are either with us or against us. There is no neutral ground in this war. Die. But what? If we choose to remain neutral anyway? Park Dae-ho pressed. What if Earth decides not to participate in this conflict? Admiral Vexmel's two companions exchanged glances. Clearly, they had never encountered this situation before. The Admiral's voice became harder, more threatening. Species that do not join the coalition are assumed to be allies of the Kefter. They are treated as enemy combatants. Their worlds are dealt with accordingly. Captain Lee's hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm, though he knew it would be useless. Are you threatening us? I am explaining reality, Admiral Vexmal replied. You have 30 Earth days to prepare your contribution to the war effort. We will return to collect your soldiers and begin the conversion of your industrial capacity. This is not negotiable. The three aliens began to shimmer and fade. As they disappeared, Admiral Vexmel's voice echoed in the room.
Do not mistake
our patience for weakness. The coalition has destroyed species that were far more advanced than yours. Choose wisely. The room fell silent after the aliens vanished. Park Dae-ho walked back to the window, looking up at the massive ships still hovering over the city. People below were beginning to emerge from buildings, pointing and talking excitedly about the aliens. Sir, Captain Lee said quietly, What? Are your orders? Park Dae-ho was quiet for a long moment, thinking about the aliens' words. Every civilized species had joined the coalition.
Oh.
No one had ever refused. The choice was simple: join or be destroyed. But something about the aliens' presentation bothered him. The way they had dismissed Earth's customs as irrelevant. The way they had demanded 2 billion people without any discussion. The way they had threatened destruction if Earth didn't comply. Dr. Kim was studying her tablet, analyzing the energy readings from the alien technology. Their weapons are incredibly advanced, she said. But there's something strange about their biological readings. I need more time to study the data. Park Dae-ho made his decision. It was probably the wrong one. It was certainly the dangerous one. But it felt like the only choice that preserved what made humanity human. Captain Lee, begin immediate preparations for planetary defense, he said. Dr. Kim, I want you to study everything we can about these aliens and their technology. Gather the best scientists from around the world. Sir Lee said carefully. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Park Dae-ho turned from the window to face his colleagues. Above them, the alien ships cast their shadows over the Earth. In 30 days, they would return expecting humanity's surrender. I'm saying that Earth chooses neutrality. We will not be forced into their war. We will not sacrifice 2 billion of our people for a conflict we don't understand. If that makes us their enemy, then so be it. The die was cast. In 30 days, humanity would give the Galactic Coalition an answer that no species had ever given before. The consequences would change the galaxy forever. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens left Earth with their ultimatum. The world had changed completely in those 21 days. Every government on the planet was working together for the first time in human history. The threat from space had united humanity in a way that nothing else ever had. Engineer Choi Min-ho wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the alien technology samples they had managed to collect. His team had been working around the clock in a secret facility built deep underground in the mountains of South Korea. The energy readings from the alien ships had left traces in the atmosphere, and his team was desperately trying to understand how their technology worked. "The power source is unlike anything we've ever seen," Choi said to his assistant, showing her the readings on his computer screen. "It's not nuclear, not chemical, not even antimatter. It's something completely different." General Yoon Taejan stood behind them, watching the scientists work. As the commander of Earth's global defense preparations, he had been coordinating military forces from every nation. Tank battalions from Russia, fighter squadrons from America, naval fleets from China, all working together under one command. For the first time ever. "How long until you can build us weapons that can fight their ships?" General Yoon asked. Choi shook his head sadly. "Sir, their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. It would be like trying to build a jet engine, using stone tools. We need more time, more samples, more understanding." In another part of the facility, Dr. Kim Hyejin was making a discovery that would change everything. She had been studying the biological samples left behind by the aliens, trying to understand their physiology. But what she found in her microscope made her question everything Admiral Dexmel had told them. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, adjusting the focus on her equipment. The alien cells were unlike anything she had ever seen. But they weren't from the Valkyrians, who had visited Earth. These samples were from something else entirely. Her assistant, Dr. Park Yoon-soo, looked over her shoulder at the screen. "What are you seeing?" "These cells," Dr. Kim said, pointing at the image. "They're not from Admiral Dexmel or his crew. They're from something organic, something plant-based. But according to the Coalition, the catheter are supposed to be biomechanical. Monsters." Dr. Park frowned. "Where did these samples come from?" "They were found in the residue left by the alien ships when they departed. But if the Kethtar are the enemy, why would their biological material be mixed with Coalition ship exhaust?" Meanwhile, intelligence analyst Kong So-young was having her own breakthrough in a different part of the facility. She had been monitoring radio signals from space, trying to intercept alien communications. Her team had finally managed to decode some of the transmissions, and what they found was disturbing. "General Yoon, you need to see this," Kong called out, her voice urgent. The general hurried over to her station, where multiple screens showed translated alien text. "What am I looking at?" "Coalition communications, sir. We've been intercepting their messages for the past week. They're not talking about defending civilization from savage monsters. They're talking about resource extraction and territorial expansion." Kong pointed to one of the translated messages. "This one talks about rich mineral deposits in Kethter space, and the need to eliminate native resistance to mining operations. This doesn't sound like a war against monsters, sir. It sounds like conquest." General Yoon felt his stomach drop. "Are you saying the Coalition lied to us?" "I'm saying their own communications tell a very different story than what Admiral Dexmel presented to us." Before General Yoon could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emergency lights flashed red as technicians rushed to their stations. On the main screen, a new contact appeared, approaching Earth from deep space. "Sir, we have an unidentified ship approaching," reported the communications officer. "It's small, about the size of a shuttle, and it's badly damaged. It's not Coalition design." General Yoon grabbed his radio. "This is General Yoon to all defense forces. We have an unknown vessel approaching. Do not engage unless it shows hostile intent. Repeat, do not engage." The small ship limped through Earth's outer atmosphere, trailing smoke and sparks. It was beautiful in a way that was completely different from the Coalition vessels. Where the Coalition ships were hard and metallic, this ship looked organic, like it had been grown rather than built. Its hull was a deep green color with flowing lines that reminded everyone of tree branches or flower stems. The ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean, sending up a massive spray of water. Within hours, rescue teams had pulled the wreckage to shore. When they opened the hull, they found 3 survivors inside, barely alive. The beings were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They were tall and graceful, with skin that looked like bark and hair that resembled leaves. Their eyes were large and green, filled with intelligence and pain. They breathed through small slits in their necks, and their hands ended in finger-like, Branch's Dr. Kim rushed to the crash site to examine the survivors. She worked to understand their biology and help treat their injuries. One of them opened its eyes and spoke in a voice like wind through trees. "Please," it whispered in broken English, "we, .. We came to warn you, the Coalition. You're not what they claim to be." The being's name was Ambassador Velthara, and over the next several hours, she told the humans a story that turned everything upside down. The Kethtar were not biomechanical monsters. They were an ancient race of plant-based beings who had lived peacefully in their part of the galaxy for thousands of years. "We are gardeners," Velthara explained, her voice growing stronger as Dr. Kim's treatments helped her recover. "We grow worlds, make them more beautiful, more alive. The Coalition came to our space, claiming they wanted to trade, but they wanted to strip our worlds bare, take all the minerals and leave nothing but dead rock behind." Ambassador Velthara showed them holographic records from her ship's computer. The images were shocking. Coalition forces attacking peaceful garden worlds, cutting down forests that had grown for millennia, mining operations that left planets looking like the surface of the moon. "We tried to negotiate," Velthara continued. "We offered to share resources, to find ways to coexist. But the Coalition only understands conquest. They demand total surrender or total destruction." Park Dae-ho arrived at the facility that evening to meet with the alien ambassador. As he listened to her story, everything began to make sense. The Coalition's demand for soldiers, their ultimatum, their threat to destroy any species that didn't join them. "How did you know to come to Earth?" Park asked. "We've been monitoring Coalition communications for many years," Velthara replied. "When we heard that a species had refused to join their war, we could not believe it. No one has ever said no to the Coalition before. They came hoping to find allies, others who would stand against their expansion." General Yoon looked grim. "How many worlds have they conquered this way?" "Hundreds," Velthara said sadly. "They come to each species with the same story. An external threat, a need for unity, a demand for soldiers and resources. Most species submit rather than face destruction. Those that resist are eliminated." Dr. Kim had been studying the Kethtor biology while they talked. "Your people are incredibly advanced," she said. "Your technology is completely organic, but it's as sophisticated as anything the Coalition has." "It's more sophisticated in some ways," Velthara admitted, "but we are gardeners, not warriors. We've never built weapons of war. That is why we have been losing." The conversation was interrupted by another alarm. This time, the screens showed Coalition ships approaching Earth. Not the massive fleet from before, but a smaller group of vessels moving fast toward the planet. "They're targeting something," reported the radar operator. "It looks like they're heading for the crash site." General Yoon realized what was happening. "They're coming to destroy the evidence. They can't let the truth about the Kethtor get out." The Coalition ships opened fire on the crash site from orbit, using energy weapons that turned sand into glass and boiled the ocean around the wreckage. The attack was precise and devastating, designed to eliminate any trace of the Kethtor ship, but they were too late. The survivors were already safe in the underground facility, and the truth was already spreading. Park Dae-ho watched the attack from the facility's monitors, feeling anger building inside him. The Coalition hadn't just threatened Earth. They had lied about their war, destroyed evidence, and attacked within Earth's atmosphere without warning. "Dr. Kim," he said quietly, "was she on the ship when they attacked?" Dr. Kim's face went pale. She'd returned to the crash site to collect more biological samples when the attack began. The energy weapons had hit just as she was boarding the wreckage. "I'm sorry, sir," General Yoon said. There were no survivors from the attack site. The room fell silent. Dr. Kim Hae-jin, the woman who had discovered the truth about the Kethtor, was dead. Killed by the Coalition for seeking knowledge and trying to help injured beings, Park Dae-ho felt something change inside him. The Coalition had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. They had murdered an innocent scientist on Earth's own soil. "Ambassador Velthara," he said, turning to the injured alien, "your people are looking for allies against the Coalition?" "Yes," she replied, hope flickering in her large green eyes. "Then you found them. Earth will stand with the Kethtor against Coalition expansion. They want a war. Then we'll give them one. The die was cast. Earth had chosen its side, and there would be no going back. Admiral Vexmel stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue and green planet below. 30 days had passed since he had delivered the ultimatum to the primitive humans. Today he would return to collect Earth's contribution to the coalition war effort. Admiral, his second-in-command, reported, "We are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through," Admiral Vexmel said, expecting to hear Park Deo's surrender. Instead, Park Deo's face appeared on the screen, standing in what looked like a military command center. Behind him, humans in uniform moved with purpose, and the screen showed defensive preparations across the planet. Admiral Vexmel Park Deo said, his voice steady and calm. "Earth's answer to your ultimatum is simple. We refuse to join your war. We refuse to sacrifice our people for your expansion. Earth stands with the Kethter against coalition aggression." Admiral Vexmel's large eyes widened in shock. No species had ever refused the coalition, but to openly declare alliance with the Kethter was beyond his understanding. "You primitive fools," he snarled. "You have no idea what you have done. You will be destroyed like all enemies of the coalition. Then you'll have to destroy us." Park Deo replied, "Because we will not submit." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Vexmel staring at a blank screen. His bridge crew looked at him nervously, waiting for orders. In 300 years of coalition expansion, nothing like this had ever happened. "Begin orbital bombardment," Admiral Vexmel ordered. "Target their major population centers. We will teach these humans the price of defying the coalition." The first energy blasts hit Seoul at dawn. The ancient city, home to 10 million people, was struck by weapons that turned entire city blocks into glass. Buildings that had stood for centuries were vaporized in seconds. The Han River boiled from the heat of the energy beams. Captain Lee Ubin watched the destruction from his command bunker deep beneath the city. His family had lived in Seoul for generations. His wife and children had been evacuated to the countryside, but millions of others had not been so lucky. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "New York and London are also under attack. The aliens are hitting all major population centers simultaneously." Lee closed his eyes, feeling the weight of command. He had been promoted to admiral after the coalition's first attack, and now he commanded Earth's entire defense force. It was not a job he had wanted, but it was one he would not abandon. "All units, this is Admiral Lee," he spoke into his radio. "Operation Defiance is now active. All defense forces, engage the enemy with everything we have." Around the world, humanity fought back with desperate courage. Fighter jets launched missiles that barely scratched the alien ships' shields. Navy vessels fired railguns that had been hastily modified with reverse-engineered alien technology. Army units activated surface-to-air systems that engineer Choi Min-ho had built using stolen coalition designs. The alien ships were powerful, but the humans were creative. In Russia, military engineers turned an entire nuclear power plant into a massive energy weapon. In Australia, scientists used the country's radio telescope array to create a focused electromagnetic pulse that disabled 3 coalition fighters. In Brazil, the Air Force loaded cargo planes with nuclear weapons and flew them directly into alien ships in kamikaze attacks that horrified the coalition crews. Admiral Vexmel watched the human resistance with growing amazement and anger. Primitive beings were supposed to surrender after the first demonstration of coalition power. Instead, they were fighting harder than species with technology far more advanced than theirs. "How are they adapting so quickly?" he demanded of his science officer. "Unknown, Admiral. Their learning rate is unprecedented.
How?
They analyze our weapons, find weaknesses, and develop countermeasures within hours. Oh, we have never encountered anything like it." On Luna Base, humanity's first permanent settlement on the moon, Admiral Lee was coordinating the global defense when his sensors detected a new arrival. A small fleet of organic-looking ships appeared near Earth, moving to engage the coalition forces. Admiral Lee came a familiar voice over the communications system. This is Commander Valthera of the Kethtor Defense Force. We have come to honor our alliance. Admiral Lee felt hope for the first time since the bombardment began. Commander, we're glad to have you. What's your status? We have 12 bioships and a full complement of defense organisms. Our technology is different from the Coalition's, but it should complement your tactics well. The Kethtor ships were beautiful to watch in battle. Instead of firing energy beams, they released swarms of living creatures that attached to Coalition. Vessels like spaceborne plants. These organisms ate through the alien hulls and disrupted their power systems from the inside. Engineer Choi Minho, working frantically in his underground laboratory, made a breakthrough that changed everything. By combining human manufacturing techniques with Kethtor biotechnology, he created weapons that could adapt and evolve during combat. Dr. Park, he called to his colleague, look at this. The biometal we've developed can reshape itself based on the enemy's defenses. It learns from every attack. Dr. Park Yunsu, who had taken over Dr. Kim's research after her death, studied the readings. This is incredible. It's like the weapon is alive, thinking for itself. Meanwhile, intelligence analyst Kong So-young had been monitoring Coalition communications throughout the battle. She discovered gave humanity its greatest advantage yet. Admiral Lee, she reported over the secure channel, the Coalition forces are receiving conflicting orders. Some of their member species are questioning the attack on Earth. The Coalition is not as united as they pretend to be. The battle raged for 3 days. Earth's cities burned, but humanity refused to break. Every time the Coalition adapted to human tactics, the humans found new ways to fight. When energy shields blocked human missiles, the humans developed bioweapons. With Kethtor help, when Coalition forces learned to counter human electronics, the humans switched to purely mechanical systems. Commander Valthera's bioships proved to be the perfect complement to human creativity. The Kethtor had spent centuries learning to defend against Coalition technology, and their organic weapons could bypass many Coalition defenses. On the 3rd day, something unprecedented happened. A Coalition destroyer broke formation and began attacking its own fleet. Admiral Vexmal watched in horror as his own forces turned against each other. What is happening? He demanded. Admiral, his communications officer reported. We're receiving transmissions from the Zephyrian ships. They're declaring independence from the Coalition and requesting permission to join the human alliance. Admiral Vexmal felt his perfect world crumbling around him. The Zephyrians were one of the Coalition's most loyal member species. If they were rebelling, others might follow. Sir, another officer reported, the crystalline collective ships are also breaking formation. They're broadcasting messages about freedom from Coalition oppression. Admiral Lee watched from Luna Base as the Coalition fleet began to tear itself apart. Species that had been forced into the Coalition for decades saw humanity's successful resistance and decided to fight for their own freedom. Commander Valthera, Admiral Lee said, your people were right. The Coalition was never as strong as they appeared. Oppression always looks powerful from the outside, Commander Valthera replied, but it is brittle on the inside. Your people have shown the galaxy that the Coalition can be defeated. Dr. Park Yunsu made another crucial discovery during the battle. By studying Coalition prisoners and defectors, she learned that human biology was uniquely resistant to Coalition bioweapons. The same adaptability that allowed humans to survive ice ages and plagues made them nearly immune to alien diseases that had conquered other species. We're not just hard to kill, she reported to Admiral Lee. We're apparently impossible to control through biological manipulation. The Coalition's standard conquest techniques don't work on us. As the battle ended, Admiral Dexmel found himself commanding less than half of his original fleet. The rest had either been destroyed by the human Kethtor alliance or had defected to join the rebellion against Coalition rule. Admiral, his science officer said quietly, perhaps we should withdraw and reassess our strategy. Admiral Vexmal looked down at Earth, still burning, but still defiant. The humans had done something no species had ever done before. It had not just survived a Coalition attack, they had turned it into a liberation of other species. No, he said, finally, We cannot allow this rebellion to spread. Prepare the entire coalition fleet for assault. If we cannot control these humans, we will destroy them completely." But as his remaining ships limped away from Earth, Admiral Vexmel knew that everything had changed. The humans had proven that the coalition could be defeated. Word of Earth's victory would spread across the galaxy, and other species would begin to question coalition rule. On Earth, Park Dejos stood in the ruins of Sol, looking up at the stars. The city could be rebuilt, the dead could be honored, but the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had made its choice and survived. The consequences. "Admiral Lee," he said into his communicator, "begin preparations for the next phase. The coalition will return with everything they have. We need to be ready." Admiral Lee's voice came back strong and determined. "Understood, sir. Earth will be ready. This time we won't be fighting alone." In the distance, Kethter bioships worked alongside human engineering crews, building defenses that neither species could have created alone. The alliance between humanity and the Kethter had been forged in battle, and it would reshape the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the coalition's first attack on Earth. The galaxy watched in amazement as the small blue planet not only survived, but began pushing back against the mighty coalition forces. What had started as a simple conquest had become the largest rebellion in galactic history. Admiral Lee Wubin stood on the bridge of the newly constructed Earth defense ship Freedom, humanity's first starship built with combined human and Kethter technology. The ship was a marvel of engineering that neither species could have created alone. Its hull was grown using Kethtor biotechnology, but strengthened with human metal alloys. Its weapon systems adapted and evolved during combat, learning from every battle. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving distress signals from the Andorian system. Coalition forces are attacking civilian targets." Admiral Lee studied the star charts displayed on his screen. The Andorian system was 3 light-years away, home to a peaceful trading civilization that had tried to remain neutral in the growing conflict. Commander Velthera, Admiral Lee, called to his Kethtar partner, "Can your bioships make the jump to Andorian space?" Commander Velthara's plant-like features showed determination. Over the months of fighting together, she had become Admiral Lee's closest ally and friend. Her organic ships had saved human forces dozens of times, while human creativity had helped. The Kethtor developed new defensive strategies. "Our ships are ready," she replied. "The new hybrid engines that Engineer Choi designed have increased our range significantly." Engineer Choi Minho had become a legend among both human and Kethtor forces. His ability to combine technologies from both species had created weapons and ships that the coalition couldn't understand or counter. In his latest workshop deep beneath the rebuilt Sol, he was working on his most ambitious project yet. Park Choi called to his research partner, "Look at these readings. The biometal is not just adapting to enemy weapons anymore. It's actually learning to predict their behavior." Dr. Park Yuensu leaned over the computer displays, studying the data from their latest tests. Since Dr. Kim's death, she had dedicated her life to advancing the human-Kethter alliance through science. "The artificial intelligence we've developed is unlike anything either species created alone," she said with excitement. "It thinks like a human, but grows like a Kethter organism. It's truly alive." Meanwhile, intelligence analyst Kang Soyoung was making discoveries that would reshape the entire conflict. From her monitoring station, she had been tracking coalition communications across the galaxy for months. What she found painted a picture of an empire in collapse. "General Yoon," she called to the military commander, "you need to see this intelligence. Report immediately." General Yoon Taejon hurried to her station. As Earth's strategic military coordinator, he had been planning the liberation of coalition-controlled worlds. The information Kang had gathered would be crucial for their next operations. "The coalition is losing control of over 40% of their territory," Kang explained, pointing to the galactic map on her screen. 12 species have declared independence since our victory at Earth. The Zephyrians have formed their own free government. The Crystal Singers are refusing to provide weapons to coalition forces. "What about their core worlds?" General Yoon asked. "That's the interesting part," Kang replied. Even the species that created the coalition are starting to question their leadership. There are reports of civil unrest on the Valkyrian homeworld. Admiral Vexmil's own people are losing faith in the war. The intelligence was confirmed when a group of Valkyrian refugees arrived at Earth seeking asylum. Among them was a former Coalition admiral named Zeth Karan, who brought detailed information about Coalition military operations. The Coalition leadership has become desperate, Zeth Karan explained to Park Dae-ho during a private meeting. They never expected resistance like this. Their entire system of control was based on fear and the belief that resistance was impossible. Park Dae-ho listened carefully to the defector's words. As Earth's leader, he had been working to build a new type of galactic government based on cooperation rather than domination. What changed their minds about the war? Park asked. Your people. Zeth Karan replied simply. No species has ever fought the coalition the way humans do. You don't just resist, you inspire others to resist. Your courage is spreading across the galaxy like a virus of freedom. The truth of those words became clear during the Battle of Kepler Station, a massive coalition supply depot that controlled shipping routes for an entire sector. Admiral Lee led a combined fleet of human ships, Kethter, biovessels, and ships from 6 newly liberated species. The coalition defenders expected a traditional space battle with ships firing energy weapons at long range. Instead, Admiral Lee used tactics that no galactic military had ever seen. Human ships worked in small groups, using hit-and-run attacks, while Kethtar bioships released swarms of living weapons that disabled enemy systems from within. But the real surprise came when the coalition's own defenders began switching sides in the middle of the battle. Species that had been forced to serve the coalition for decades saw the effectiveness of the human-lead alliance and decided to join the rebellion. Admiral, his tactical officer, reported 3 coalition battle groups are requesting permission to surrender and join our forces. Admiral Lee had learned to expect the unexpected when fighting alongside humans. But even he was amazed by how quickly coalition forces were abandoning their cause. Grant them asylum, he ordered, but keep our weapons charged until we're sure of their intentions. Engineer Choi's masterpiece was unveiled during this battle. The Terran-class battleships he had designed were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They combined human engineering with Kethter biotechnology and artificial intelligence systems that could adapt to any enemy. The ships looked alive, their hulls rippling and changing shape as they encountered different threats. When coalition forces fired energy weapons, the ships absorbed the energy and used it to power their own systems. When the enemy switched to physical projectiles, the hull hardened into armor stronger than any metal. It's beautiful, Commander Velthara said as she watched the new ships in action. They fight like living things, but think like machines. Your engineer Choi has created something truly remarkable. Dr. Park made another crucial discovery during the battle analysis. By studying the performance of different species in combat, she learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their courage, but their ability to bring out the best in other species. Look at these combat effectiveness ratings, she showed Admiral Lee. Kethter forces fight 50% better when working alongside humans. The Zephyrian pilots are twice as accurate when following human tactical guidance. Even former coalition species perform better as part of our alliance. Why do you think that happens? Admiral Lee asked. Humans inspire hope, Dr. Park replied. Most galactic species have lived under coalition rule for so long that they forgot what freedom looked like. Humans remind them that resistance is possible, that a better future can exist. Intelligence analyst Kong's monitoring stations picked up the most significant development yet. Deep in coalition space, Admiral Vexmil was assembling the largest fleet in galactic history for a final assault on Earth and its allies. The coalition is pulling ships from every corner of their territory, Kang reported to the War Council. Over 3,000 vessels, including their most advanced dreadnoughts. They're planning to end this rebellion with overwhelming force. Park Dae-ho looked at the tactical displays showing the massive enemy fleet. It was larger than anything humanity had ever faced, but he felt no fear. 6 months of fighting had taught him that size and power meant nothing without the will to use them effectively. "How long until they reach Earth?" he asked. "Based on their current speed, approximately 2 weeks," Admiral Lee replied. "But sir, our intelligence suggests that not all those ships are loyal to the Coalition anymore. The crew morale reports show widespread dissatisfaction with Coalition leadership." "Then we'll be ready for them," Park said firmly. "Send word to all our allies. The final battle for galactic freedom is coming to Earth. Every free species in the galaxy needs to choose a side." Commander Valthera stepped forward. "The Kethtar will stand with Earth, as we always have. Our bioships are ready for the largest battle in our history." Engineer Choi's voice came over the communications system from his laboratory. "Admiral, the new Terran-class ships will be ready in 10 days. I'm also working on something special for Admiral Dexmel, something that will show him what human creativity can accomplish." As the Allied forces prepared for the final confrontation, species across the galaxy watched and waited. The outcome of the coming battle would determine whether the Coalition's reign of terror would continue or whether a new age of freedom would begin. But Admiral Dexmel had made a crucial error in his planning. Still thought he was fighting primitive humans who could be defeated through superior firepower. He had not yet learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology, but their ability to turn enemies into allies and fear into hope. The stage was set for the largest space battle in galactic history, and at its center would be a small blue planet whose people had refused to surrender their freedom. The largest fleet in galactic history emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Dexmel commanded over 3,000 ships, representing the last loyal forces of the Coalition Empire. Massive dreadnoughts bristling with weapons-led formations of destroyers and cruisers that stretched across space like a metal storm cloud. "Today we end this rebellion once and for all," Admiral Dexmel announced to his fleet commanders. "The primitive humans and their plant allies will learn the true power of the Coalition. No mercy will be shown to any who oppose galactic order." But as his ships moved toward Earth, Admiral Dexmel noticed something that made his confidence waver. Nearly a quarter of his fleet was moving slowly, their captains responding to orders with obvious reluctance. Reports from his intelligence officers warned of widespread unrest among the crews. At Earth, Admiral Lee Wubin stood ready with the largest Alliance fleet ever assembled. Ships from 47 different species floated in formation around the blue planet. Sleek human vessels worked alongside organic Kethtar bioships. Former Coalition destroyers flew next to newly built hybrid craft that combined technologies from a dozen worlds. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving final confirmations from our allies. The Zephyrian fast attack squadrons are in position. The Crystal Singer dreadnoughts have charged their weapons. The Andorian defense fleet is ready." Commander Valthara's voice came through the communications system from her flagship, a massive bioship that looked like a flowering tree made of living metal. "Admiral Lee, the Kethtar forces are prepared. Our latest bioweapons are ready to disable Coalition systems without destroying the ships. We want to save as many crews as possible." Engineer Choi Minho had worked without sleep for 10 days, preparing his surprise for Admiral Dexmel. In the depths of his laboratory, he put the finishing touches on humanity's most advanced creation yet. "Dr. Park," he said to his research partner, "the Terra Nova is ready for launch. This ship represents everything we've learned about combining human creativity with Kethtar biotechnology." The Terra Nova was unlike any ship that had ever been built. It was grown rather than constructed, its hull a living organism that could think and adapt. But inside its organic exterior was human technology that pushed the boundaries of physics. The ship could reshape itself during battle, repair damage instantly, and learn from every encounter. Dr. Park Yoon-soo ran final diagnostics on the ship's systems. The artificial intelligence is fully integrated with the bioneural networks. "It's not just a ship anymore, Choi. It's a new form of life." Intelligence analyst Kong Soyoung monitored Coalition communications as the enemy fleet approached. What she heard gave the Alliance hope. "Admiral Lee," she reported, "I'm detecting massive communication traffic within the Coalition fleet. Ship captains are questioning their orders. Some are requesting permission to withdraw from the battle. General Yun Taejen coordinated the defense from Earth's surface. The planet below was ready for siege, but this time humanity was not fighting. Alone, the skies above were filled with allied ships from across the galaxy. All ground forces are prepared, General Yun reported. But I don't think this battle will reach the surface. Our fleet is stronger than anything the Coalition can field. Park Dae-ho watched the approaching battle from the command center deep, beneath rebuilt Seoul. As Earth's leader, he had spent months building the alliance that now surrounded his world. Representatives from dozens of species worked alongside humans, united by a common belief in freedom. Citizens of Earth and allies throughout the galaxy, Park announced on open channels that both fleets could hear. Today we fight not just for our own freedom, but for the future of galactic civilization. We fight for the right of every species to choose their own path among the stars. The battle began when Admiral Dexmal ordered his vanguard to attack the outer defensive line. But what happened next shocked everyone, including Admiral Dexmal himself. Instead of attacking the Alliance, the Coalition vanguard ships turned their weapons on each other. Captain after captain declared independence from Coalition command and requested permission to join the Freedom Alliance. What is happening? Admiral Dexmal demanded of his bridge crew. Why are our ships attacking each other? His communications officer looked terrified. Admiral, we're receiving defection declarations from over 800 ships, refusing to fight against the Alliance. The sight of Coalition ships switching sides in the middle of the battle inspired the Allied forces to new heights of courage. Human ships charged forward with reckless bravery, while Kethter, biovessels, released swarms of organic weapons that disabled enemy systems without killing their crews. Engineer Choi's masterpiece. The Terra Nova entered the battle like a force of nature. The ship moved through space like a living creature, its hull shifting and adapting to every threat. When Coalition ships fired energy weapons, the Terra Nova absorbed the energy and grew stronger. When they switched to physical projectiles, the ship's hull became harder than diamond. But the Terra Nova's greatest weapon was not its adaptive technology. It was its ability to communicate directly with other ships' computer systems, showing Coalition crews the truth about their empire's crimes and offering them a chance to join the Alliance. This is impossible, Admiral Dexmal said as he watched his fleet dissolve around him. No ship can convert enemy forces during battle. Admiral, his science officer reported with wonder in his voice, the Terra Nova isn't just a ship. Our scans show it's a living organism with artificial intelligence. It's literally talking our crews into switching sides. Commander Velthara led the Kethtar bioships in a coordinated attack that surrounded the remaining loyal Coalition forces. Instead of destroying them, the organic vessels released clouds of spores that put enemy crews to sleep without harming them. Admiral Lee, she reported, we are capturing intact ships faster than we can process the surrenders. The Coalition resistance is collapsing. The turning point came when Admiral Dexmal's flagship was approached by the Terra Nova. The living ship established a direct connection with the Coalition vessel's computers and began broadcasting the truth about Coalition expansion directly to Dexmal's crew. Images of peaceful worlds destroyed for their resources filled every screen on the ship. Records of species forced into slavery were played over the ship's communications systems. The true history of Coalition expansion was revealed to every crew member simultaneously. Admiral, his second-in-command, said quietly, we have been lied to about everything. The Coalition is not defending civilization. We are the destroyers. Admiral Dexmal felt his world crumbling around him. For his entire life, he had believed in Coalition's superiority and the righteousness of their cause. Now he saw the truth that humanity had shown the galaxy. Sir, his communications officer reported, our remaining ships are requesting permission to surrender. They want to join the Alliance. The battle ended not with explosions and destruction, but with the largest mass defection in military history. Of Admiral Dexmal's 3,000 ships, fewer than 50 remained loyal to the Coalition. The rest had chosen freedom over tyranny. Admiral Dexmal stood alone on his bridge, looking out at the Alliance fleet that now surrounded his ship. Admiral Lee's voice came over the communications system, offering terms that no coalition leader had ever heard before. Admiral Vexmel, you and your remaining loyal crews are free to leave. We will not pursue you or seek revenge. The Alliance fights for freedom, not conquest. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Dexmel felt something he had never experienced before: mercy from an enemy. The humans could have destroyed him easily, but instead they offered him a choice. I surrender, he said finally. Not just my ships, but myself. I wish to learn more about this alliance that fights without hatred. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed completely. The coalition empire shattered as species after species declared independence and joined the Free Worlds Alliance. Park Deho helped establish a new form of galactic government based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. Commander Velthara and Admiral Lee worked together to build a joint defense force that protected trade routes and assisted species in need. Their partnership became the model for cooperation between different forms of life. Dr. Park Yun-Su led the new Galactic Research Initiative, sharing technology freely among all species instead of hoarding it for military advantage. The combination of human creativity, Kethter, biotechnology, contributions from dozens of other species led to advances that benefited everyone. Intelligence. Analyst Kong So-young became the first human ambassador to former coalition worlds, helping them transition to free governments and join the growing alliance. Engineer Choi Minho continued developing new technologies that brought species together rather than driving them apart. His living ships became the backbone of the alliance, fleet connecting different worlds through shared understanding. Even Admiral Dexmel found a new purpose. After months of learning about alliance principles, he became an advocate for former coalition species, helping them understand that cooperation was stronger than conquest. The Terra Nova Choi's living ship became a symbol,